and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello, everyone. Friday Night Bigfoot Live is here finally. Hopefully you can hear me, understand me. We've had some major issues tonight, tech issues, like I've never had before. So we're based here in Michigan. We're having a huge windstorm. And then, hey, I got to admit, using the StreamYard platform, which I love, so don't get me wrong, has its technical difficulties. If anyone in the group doesn't have the best of internet connection, we can have some issues. So, with that said, bear with me a moment. I have to verify right now on all my different devices that I'm up and running. So, just give me a second here. All right, hold on. All right, very cool, very cool. So we are now on Facebook. We missed our window, by almost 20 minutes. So my apologies to everybody at home. We're we're running on Facebook. Hold on, turn down that volume. Now I gotta check our YouTube connection. Let's see what we got here. Boom, 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 boom. Thank you so much, everybody, for being patient. This tech stuff is difficult. All right, so there we are. Let's see. Let's see. All right. All right. Haven't found us on YouTube yet. Hold on. Come on, buddy. Wait a minute. There I am, right there, right there, right there. Bingo. So I hope everybody at home's doing good. Sherry Redu, if you could go ahead and come in. Let me mute this. Sherry Redu, if you could go ahead and come in now. We're going to do this one at a time. We have multiple co-hosts today, and everybody's having problem. Basically, I can't hear them. So we don't know where the tech issue is coming from. But yeah, if Sherry Redu, you can come on in and we'll take it step by step. Well, it's Friday Night Bigfoot Live, and there has been a ton going on. I mean, I guess you could say in our Midwest area with Bigfoot sightings. Now, how can I say this? To many people nationwide, this is a big shock and surprise. To us Bigfooters here in Michigan, we know what's going on. It's March. The ground has thawed, and these earth-dwelling creatures called Bigfoot, Sasquatch, forest people, there's different kinds of these creatures, are coming out and becoming more active. Now, do they hibernate? I think they do a little bit, maybe not to the extent that bears do, but I do believe that Sasquatch hibernate. Okay, Sherry's here. Let's go ahead and bring her in and see if this works step by step.
Hi, Brian.
Can I hear you?
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Sherry. I can hear you. So,
we figured it out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kim had her laptop on, so we shut that down. She should be coming in right behind me, both Brenda and Kim.
Okay, great, great. I'll bring Brenda in first.
Okay,
And then hopefully our guest Christopher Perry can come on in as well when he's ready. He was running a little bit late as well.
perfect.
But yeah, well, thank goodness, man. It's StreamYard. What's tough about it? Sorry, I spilt my drink over here. StreamYard is tough at times because
Yeah,
you don't. The problem is they don't give you avenues to problem solve. You can check a couple of things like mic and camera, but
yeah,
if there's an innate internet issue, you can't fix it. And then it
totally.
infects everybody else. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
So,
fantastic. All right, I'm waiting till they come up. But
yep.
Sherry, real quick, I was talking about we're going to dive into the Ohio Bigfoot sightings. Bigfoot eyewitness Christopher Perry is going to be on the show in a little bit later. But I'm posing that look, we get it. It's very exciting what's going on in Ohio, but yet to us, it's no big surprise because and I don't mean that in a bad way, like we know everything. We just know that when March comes, and that was evident by last year's recent Monroe monster sighting, that when the ground thaws out, these Sasquatch become more active. They migrate. And what are they heading for? They're heading to find fish because they can't get access sometimes all winter because of the ice. And so they're heading out to water locations, whether it be high flowing rivers, lakes, or ponds that support
Mhm.
wildlife to find fish because they've been living off of deer all winter and small game, and fish is almost like a delicacy for them come springtime. And so March hits, man, they're out. And sure, there could be other reasons, like Angie Elizabeth, man. She wrote a good explanation about maybe it was a youth out looking for a new territory. Some of their
Mhm.
land is being encroached on. Donna Copus has talked about that before. And so then they're looking to carve out their own territories as youth get bigger. They're looking to have their own habitats and families as well. So,
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. This
cool.
this is so it's almost like a repeat exactly of what's going on from last year pattern. We're
Yes.
learning more and more. We're watching the patterns, right? Every year we start to see the same things happening. Um, Especially here up in Traverse City, I'm seeing the same things here too. Um,
Cool.
so yeah, I mean, it's exciting. A lot of stuff happening right now this time of
Most.
year. And the food sources are moving, right? The animals are migrating.
Mhm.
The fish are migrating. Fish migrate. So, they also migrate, so wherever that food source is going, they're going to follow, and this makes sense. This is perfect timing for that. The ice is starting to melt on the bays up here as well as Lake Michigan. So we're seeing a lot more open shoreline happening where now they can have access right into the lakes. Things are popping now.
Yep. Without a
Mhm.
doubt. I wanted to get out to my Black River Bigfoot location this morning, but I just couldn't pull it off. We got so much even though this is a perfect time to go out when it's windy like this, when stuff is thawing out and the river's at a high level. Hey, Brenda Goodwin, if you can go ahead and sign in. I'm watching this on Facebook and YouTube right now. David Ibarra is watching right now. He says we are coming through okay there in Kansas City, Missouri. And Val Valina Leaford is watching us, good friend of mine. She says, hello, everyone. Hi, Bri. Good to see you, Val. All right, hopefully. And then we've got some, did I get the comments on? Hold on a second. All right, we got some comments on YouTube. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. Hey, thank you, faithful YouTube watchers, everybody,
Yeah.
for the tech issues. You're up and running, says Godzilla 7576. Hi, Godzilla. And pixelated but coming through. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm gonna work on my pixelation. I know, like Sherry and all the co-hosts, your pixelation is better. So that makes me happy. And then I am going to work on my settings to try to get those better. There's like 720 and 1080, but there's some stipulations with that. 1621 Studios, who I believe is Jake Kasicki. The wind has been unbelievable today. That's right, Jake. I hope that's you. If it's not, please tell me. The wind has been unbelievable today. Good luck on the show. Hope it all works out. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Godzilla says, yes, the wind is still crazy out there. Bryan, are you in DUP? No, I'm in the thumb of Michigan, and holy cow. Tim Dill says, great show, guys. Hey, Tim, we miss you. Thanks for watching now. I was telling the guys on the NCI show, which I do Tuesdays and Thursdays, North Carolina Investigators. Look that up on YouTube. Like and subscribe. It's free. All of our stuff is free. If you want to be a gold member on here on YouTube, it's only $4.99, but you're going to get all the information first. But keep it free as much as you can. I'm really big on that because of everything, all the craziness in the world and everything costing so much. If I can be a help and bring free entertainment, hey, man, I want to be a part of that.
Right.
All right.
Well,
And I've got something. Go ahead, Sherry. I got something exciting that's going to happen this year, we think. All right. We're going to bring Brenda in. All right.
there she is.
So, all right. Baby steps on this, everyone. Sherry, if for some reason, you take over if it goes crazy. All right, we're going to do Brenda first, then Kim.
Okay.
Hey, Brenda, you there? Oh, I can hear her. Oh, thank goodness.
Hi, Brenda.
Good.
Oh,
I have no
I
power.
don't want.
I
Oh,
see
you
that.
don't. Oh, okay. So if
Yeah.
it goes dark here,
I got out of work
60
and come home and I've got no power. We've got just wicked winds down here.
Yeah.
My mom said
okay.
that the power's been out since like 1:30 this afternoon.
It's going to get cold.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hope it comes back on soon. So
What's your latest?
in
You
the comment
guys have
thread,
heard.
I
I
told
heard
Kim
60
to
mile an hour.
head back in.
Okay, she's there. I'm going to bring her in next. What's the wind out there? I heard 60 miles an hour. What did you guys hear?
There's some really strong gusts. I've got a maple tree outside my back porch here, and there's it's lost some branches here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're at 35 sustained right now with gusts up to 55. Gale
Mhm.
force
Oh,
warning.
my.
We have gale warnings right now on the lake.
Oh, my.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring Kim in. Now, everybody at home, excited to have Kim on the show. Hopefully the tech works out. A little background on Kim. She is episodes 5 and 6 of my season 1 Bigfoots of Michigan TV series, which the announcement is by the end of 2026, hopefully you'll be able to watch the Bigfoots of Michigan TV series, the Bigfoots of America podcast show, a new show called Bigfoot Empire. That's how busy I've been, maybe even the NCI guys, but you'll be able to watch it all on Roku. So that is what we're possibly looking at by the end of this year, hopefully by June or July. So here we go, kids. We're going to go ahead and bring Kim in. Baby steps. Let's see if this works.
Hello.
I
Hi.
can hear her.
No.
Good
Three times
news.
the charm.
Good news.
Fantastic. Kim, it is wonderful to have you on the show. You are one of the people who gave me a handout in my season 1. We've already recorded season 3, and my poor eyewitnesses of season 3 are waiting for their episodes to be released. And then we're even working on season 4. But you were 2 episodes, 5 and 6, sit-down episode where you just unloaded so much information and basically helped me with my show. I mean, your voice at the beginning of the show,
I
and
noticed.
oh my gosh, I stood up and it had the face of a man. So this is the face of that
Yeah.
voice, everybody. Good to have you
Well,
on the
it's good to be
show.
here. Good to be here. I haven't seen you in
Good
a while.
episode.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a while. And Kim, why don't you go ahead? We're going to look at all of our people. Rick Stiltner, hey y'all, he's going to be on the show coming up soon. Squatch Man says, hello, my friends. Oh my goodness, so many people on all of this. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Kim, why don't you go ahead and give everybody a little bit of background about yourself and how you got involved in all this and some of your encounters. And then we're going to talk about, I've got them listed out, the Ohio Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about them. And then I think Chris Perry might be in later on the show. But go ahead, Kim.
Well, I was a science teacher in Traverse City and taught environmental science. And, you know, you always teach the scientific method, right?
Yeah.
And what started it, my husband had a sighting in Florida back in the 70s. And I always believed him. He's not one to make stuff up. So I was homesick watching Monster Quest, like show after show after show. And it got me interested. So we attended a Bigfoot conference put on by Michigan Magazine. And I think that might have been 2009 or 2010, somewhere around then. And they had a couple of years where they did that. And I just learned things through them, like the stick structures, and paid attention to stuff and started going out and looking myself. Well, at the end of the year, I always let the kids pick a project or take the final exam. Of course, almost everybody does a project. And one of the kids was, can I talk about Bigfoot? And I said, well, we don't really have evidence of them being alive yet, you know, or real, but you can talk about scientific method. Because I would bring out a cast of a Bigfoot print and say, what would you do if you found this in the woods, you know? And it was great. Some of the best days in my teaching time were those discussions. And kids would say, well, they're not real. And I'm like, well, how do you know? That type of thing. So this kid wanted to do that. And I said, well, one of the things you could do is contact the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization and see how they find out and what kind of science methods they use. And so this kid did that and got in touch with Caroline Curtis from, she's a secretary for the BFRO, who lives not too far from where I live now. And she said, well, you know, it's so cool your teacher's letting you do this. She should come on one of the expeditions. And I'm like, okay, you know, so John and I went on our first expedition and it was amazing. And that's kind of what started. She had asked, and a number of people had asked if I would become an investigator for them. And it's a volunteer position. So I did that for Grand Traverse County, or you could go pretty much wherever you wanted to drive. But just over a couple of years, had a number of witnesses that I interviewed. And I had one that was, if even a tenth of what he told us was true and accurate, he just had all these experiences. And that's kind of what I think got me really intrigued. He was having encounters with these Bigfoots all the time. And so that was Missaukee County. And I saw Jim's name on here earlier. I won't say his last name because he doesn't have his last name up there. But when we first got on the first time, and he was my mentor. So we spent some time out in the field together, and just through that, different experiences. The one Bigfoot report on the BFRO is in Missaukee County, and I think it's the only one there still. So if you want to check that out, there's a lot of pictures and a lot of history there with this guy named Tony. But like I said, I wasn't seeing anything there really. What my first sighting was at the Michigan Magazine conference. And what had happened was we were spending the night. We were the only ones that spent the night there. We brought a camper, and we did that a couple of times. But the one time we were there by ourselves, they showed up, and I was sitting outside. My husband was inside making a meal for us, and I'm sitting outside watching the tree line, and doggone it, if two of them don't go running from this huge brush pile into the woods. And I called my husband out. He didn't get out there fast enough to see him. But the next day we were able to find tracks, and it was a place where we had found a number of tracks during that conference. So that was kind of my introduction. The first sighting that I had, that was two of them. And then when the one that kind of made me leave Bigfoot research was in Kalkaska County.
Yeah.
I was on my way to interview a witness. John and I had gone out the day before and met him. And after we came back home, he called and he was freaking out because he was off a 2-track that literally depending on the time of year, I had trouble finding this place, and I was going there regularly, but it was hard because just the scenery would change so much. And so I was on my way out there the second day, just to go see what kind of evidence he had. And I stopped to take a picture of a stick structure. And I thought, this has got to be something. And as I went to get back in my car, a Bigfoot passed behind me. And I'm telling you, it was right at my trunk. And that was like, I had PTSD after that. It was like, I don't know how much I want to do this anymore. But the interesting thing is, I could never figure out how that I was just taking a picture in that direction. So how in the world did that thing show up? It was huge, just huge. It's literally its hip section I had a little Toyota Camry, and it just went right across the back of my back window. And it took up 2/3 of the window at a moment in time. So it was huge. But where did it come from? And that was before I had heard anything about them being interdimensional. And I thought that is an explanation as to where this thing came from, because this was an open field that I was that I was taking pictures in. And that's where it came from. So that was really interesting to just think about recently, is like, that must have been how it showed up there, because it couldn't have been hiding behind anything. It was too big. So just some real interesting things over the years, and people who have contacted me with their experiences. And I still go sometimes, but I'm just careful, because you never know.
Kim, you are.
It could have been close.
Kim, yeah. Sorry.
If it was any closer,
Kim,
you are back deep.
Power. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that account was an eye opener for me, in the fact of being interdimensional, cloaking, or even the idea that you could walk right by one. And you might think it's a big tree stump or something, and it could actually be a Sasquatch because they blend in so well. But then your other encounter, this is the one that blew the lid off of it as well for me, is when you and John, I think, both saw the Sasquatch with the self-illuminating eyes. So it looked like flashlights coming out of their eyes. Tell us about that.
Well, we had several of those types of encounters. That was at the Michigan Magazine Bigfoot conference. And Michigan Magazine isn't around anymore, I don't think, but they had, at least, I think it was the second one, so it was probably 2010. They had a great presentation. They had competition. They had groups that were going out together and stuff. And we were just as a bunch of greenies, man. We went out as a group. There was probably about 5 or 6 of us, and walked the tree line. Now there's a guy named Bob Daigle that I was in contact with too, and he's got quite a bit of information. He wrote a book with encounters, and he was at that conference with us. And he'd gone out.
And he was at our town hall meeting. Sorry, Kim.
Was he?
Bob came. Yeah, he came to our town hall meeting. We're going to have 2 more this year, but go ahead. Sorry, Bob is spectacular.
Yeah, so he had gone out and hung up a glow-in-the-dark stick, and it went out. And so we decided we're going to go walk out there and maybe put another one out. And nothing really happened at first, but later on, that was probably midnight, there was about 6 or 7 of us that went out on this tree line, and we're walking back and forth, and nothing for like an hour and a half. We're like, okay, we're just going to go back. And there was a guy, and I don't know how legit he was. I don't know how legit he was, but Animal Planet was working with him because he had claimed to have a group of Bigfoots that he interacted with regularly. And so it was, he came out at one point too, but as we were walking this tree line, we saw the glow, and it was no way that it could have been the moonlight. There just was no way. There was red eye glow back up on a hill, and behind that area was like an 80-acre farm that was abandoned. So, I mean, you can always say, well, people are back there doing stuff. Well, you got to be pretty I don't know why you would be out there at 1 a.m. with red flashlights, but okay, people don't want to believe. And so we saw that, and then there were also like some very close to the ground. And when we had talked with this guy's name was Jim, also not the Jim I was talking about earlier. We talked with him, and he came out the next night, and it was John and I, and I think 1 or 2 other people. And we did it again. And again, there was not a whole lot of activity until we said we were leaving. And it's like they could understand. And rocks started to come out of the forest, right? And then we saw Iglo then as well. And it was red again, but they were throwing rocks. And so John had planned. He's like, he goes up to the edge of the woods and he's like, okay, he says, we're going to play this game. I'm going to throw a rock in, you throw it back out. And it happened. I was like, I turned to this guy, Jim, and we were standing right next to each other. I'm like, dude, did they understand English? And he's like, I don't, he wasn't sure. He thought they might have understood a Native American tongue. But so I stepped forward. I said, John went to throw another rock. I said, hold on a minute. If we're going to throw this in, I want you to throw it back out where I can find it. Because they must have been totally entertained with us trying to get these rocks. And so doggone it, if that didn't happen, it landed right between Jim and I was probably 15 feet away from the tree line. And I was, you talk about something to wake you up. It's like, what the heck is going on? And we were still pretty green at that point, so it's been a ride. The introductory one where you were talking that you used where there was a young couple riding in a car down. This was up in the UP here. I can't think of a 94 going from, I think, Munising to Manistee. And he and his wife were driving in the car and she was like doing something, had her head down. And he saw this thing in the road. And of course, he, like you said, it's a bear. He thought it was a bear. And when it stood up as the headlights hit it, it totally freaked this young man out. He said that if he ever really knew that was a real thing out in the woods, he'd be hunting it because he was scared. And he had some PTSD for quite some time too. So I think that, we can all talk about, we believe they're real and we can tell these stories, but until you have an encounter, it's like life-changing. And, I don't know if other people have said that, but I thought I believed 100%. And then when I had an encounter, it was like, crap, these things really are real and they're out there and they can be in your backyard depending on where you live, so it's a pretty scary at times. Yeah.
All right. Sherry or Brenda, if you want to say anything, I'm sorry for stepping on you. There does seem to be a bigger delay today, and that's got to be because of the weather. So if you want to say anything, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with Kim. Yeah, they can be in your backyard. They were in my mom's backyard.
In mine too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In Bryan's backyard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have they showed up at your
they
house,
come here
Bryan?
at my place too.
Oh. Yeah.
Hmm?
Well, we just bought a house out in the Ford River area. We're in Escanaba, and John and I had gone out riding last year, and there's a Bigfoot group up here. We riding 4-wheelers, and there's a Bigfoot group out here. I found out right around the same time we were out there that they were out doing research in the exact same place that we were riding. But I had actually called Sherry. Was it last year, Sherry? I called you about we were on this trail that ended at a swamp or whatever. You couldn't go very far up. And this was up in Gwynn area. And we were on this trail, and I didn't really notice it, but John noticed it, that there were rocks stacked. There was like this big boulder, and then on top of that was a rock, and they were stacked. And of course, people can go out and do that, but they were also kind of triangulated. And I called Sherry. I said, do you know anything about this? And sent her pictures. And she's like, that's probably a place you don't want to be. Okay. But every time we go out, they're all over the place up here. And every time we go out, we see some kind of stick structures or signs. We haven't found prints, but I mean, we love living up here. It is something that's a reality, though. They're closer.
Well, that's it. That's it, Kim. There are way more of these creatures, these beings, than anyone ever told us. And that's what we're finding out. And yes, Kim, they've been to my house. I've had the mind speak experience. I've heard them speak in a very type language, and also the samurai chatter. I've been surrounded by them. I've heard the Sierra Sound type howls. Yeah, I've got a picture. I just posted the picture of Scout. That, as soon as I saw Scout and got the picture of him, it was on a video. I set the camera down, panned it real quick. That's when the activities started to happen at my house. Banging on our camper, bam, 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 bam. Had to go out there, tell them to stop banging on the camper. Don't bang on the old house. Be very nice, respectful. You know what they started doing? Started growling at the window. This like tiger purr growl, and it's very forceful. And then even last week, I heard the same thing in the back right here. And
Yeah.
what's amazing about it, and I always say it, is number one, there's way more of these creatures, these beings than we ever imagined. But here's the thing, when you experience them, it's like you said, you don't go, oh, I wonder if that was a Sasquatch. No, they're choosing to let you know they're there. And when you hear them or see them, you know that you've heard or you're seeing them.
Yeah.
And it's huge. And it affects you, like you said, it's life changing. All right, ladies, you ready?
Yes.
Been working my butt off. We're going to talk about, hopefully, Bigfoot eyewitness Christopher Perry will chime in later on in the show. If not, we'll get him on next. Actually, next week, I'm going to be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference as part of the NCI team in Clayton, Georgia on Saturday, March 21st. And we're going to be speaking there along with Jessica, the cryptid huntress. And so it's going to be a wonderful show down there. If you're in the Clayton, Georgia area, come on down. See us, the whole group there, and we'll all be talking about all of our many experiences. But for right now, what's been going on this past week? Sherry and I touched on it at the beginning of the show. There has been an explosion in northeastern Ohio. Now, did a bunch of writing, a bunch of research, and I've compiled a bunch of information from about 3 different sources: MLive and the Bigfoot Mapping Project. And probably most of all, we got to give this guy a shout out because he is top tier. It's Bigfoot Society's Jeremiah Byron, because he does so much wonderful work. I think probably all of us have been an eyewitness on his podcast show. If you haven't, get a hold of him and get on his show, because I think he's in the top 3 podcast platforms. And such a wonderful, just a nice guy. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could be that nice, you know? All right, so we've got a slew. I've got it listed here as 8 separate sightings. Now, I've got them broken down pretty good according to these 3 sources, and I think it could be anywhere between 1 and 3 or 4 individuals. So we're going to do 8 sightings, and then we're also going to do what I would call an honorable mention sighting in this. I've got to look it up, but wherever Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. I didn't get a chance to look that up, but we got to add that at the end. And that reminded me of Kim's story about the guy driving along and the one feeding on the carcass and looks up and has the face of a man, because there's another connection, that there are many different types of these creatures, anywhere from primitive apish looking to primitive human looking. So, all right, here we go. We're starting on March 6th at 12:23 p.m., a broad daylight sighting by a member of the MTCR research organization. And this eyewitness wishes to remain anonymous. What he saw was a 9-foot-tall, brown-haired Sasquatch about 120 yards away. It didn't make any noise, but they locked eyes with each other. Okay. And then once they locked eyes, the Bigfoot looked at our eyewitness. It started to move away, and it scared the eyewitness, even though he's a Bigfoot researcher. It scared him so much, he got out of the area as well. So, and to me, that is your cliche sighting. It's going to be quick. It's going to be about 5 seconds long, and boom, everybody's gone. They don't want anything to do with us most of the time. And once we see them, we get scared half to death as if we were looking at a lion. Hey, ladies, Jason Finch is chiming in on YouTube. He's saying hello to Brenda, Kim, and Sherry. Thanks, Jason Finch,
Hello.
for chiming in. Cool. George Lunsford says hello to everyone. Author George Lunsford. I can never promote his books enough. It wasn't for. Oh, Kim, we had a Wendigo sighting up in the thumb of Michigan. I was just up there looking at a Wendigo sighting area, and it's so funny because what is the Wendigo? It's basically this huge deer, powerful man-like creature up on its hind legs, but evil, and it's possessed. Well, sure enough, this guy's describing what he shot point blank range. I get up there, me and Laura are driving, and there's like a herd of deer running over the road. So it's like, there's the evidence. It's just a ton of deer. And there's also a Bigfoot sighting there as well. All right. So now back to the Ohio Bigfoot sighting. So we read our first encounter. The second encounter is within 24 hours, March 7th. And I believe it to be 10:52 a.m. They had said p.m., but if it was within less than 24 hours, it had to be a.m. But anyways, it's by Dylan Abney. Dylan was walking quietly on a trail when he heard heavy rhythmic footsteps. It was 40 yards away. He saw an 8-foot dark brown-haired with very long arms. So it turned to face and look at Dylan, and then it took off. And it might have been behind a tree because Dylan went over there. Dylan didn't get out of the area like the first eyewitness did. Dylan went over and saw where this thing was standing and found 2 large footprints. So right now, that sounds like it could have been the same creature.
Could have been.
Yeah. So March 6th, March 7th, within 24 hours in the same area. This is all in the Mantua Center area, Garrettsville, Ohio. Number 3, the third sighting, which is March 9th at 10:20 a.m. near Mantua Center, Garrettsville, Ohio, an 8-foot black hair. So now when you're talking about in the first 2 sightings, brown, dark brown, black, it depends. We know their hair shimmers, right, Kim? I think you brought that up one time. Yeah. And this one was 8 miles east. So only 8 miles east of the previous sightings. And so the question now is, okay, same individual or a family group. And according to the map, it looked like there were arrows headed kind of in the same direction, which were heading down. I've got the map right here. If you look, there is something called Lake Milton, Craig Beach, and it's this whole waterway system that it looks like the Sasquatch is walking from the northwest down southeast, down toward where Donna Copus lives. Yeah. Garrettsville, Aurora, Southington, I think it's called, Wyndham, Streetsboro, West Branch State Park. So here's a big state park in that area is West Branch State Park. All right, so those are 3 sightings, and they sound pretty similar. The 4th sighting is in Garrettsville. So hold on a second here, ladies. So Sherry, like we were talking about, it's like a migration to me. Right now, I'm kind of sold. It's one individual who doesn't care if it's broad daylight. He's got a purpose in mind, and he's headed to where he wants to go. So so now this one's in Garrettsville, and is a 15-second encounter on the Headwaters Trail. So look, ladies, I can't confirm, but I might be going down there tomorrow.
Okay.
Just to have fun. I'm sure, but see, the thing is everybody's probably heading over there. So this is and there were two people, and an anonymous eyewitness along with a person named by the name of Jacob Taylor. They were 30 feet away. This one was 10 feet tall. So now, okay, when you start 7, 8 feet tall, and then you're going up to 10, because remember, everybody, when you go up, you also go out.
Yes.
All right. So we're talking about a large scale creature in this. Garrettsville, Ohio, 15-second encounter. Jacob Taylor, 30 feet away, 10 feet tall, jet black hair. So now you got the reversal. You got jet black hair, very broad shoulders, said the ground even shook when it walked. And this is what I love. When it walked, it looked like it was walking on stilts. So its gait was they have a different walk. And I said this on the NCI show because this will be in another encounter coming up. I want to see one of these things walk, because when they walk, it's not like us. When we walk, we kind of bob up and down a little bit. They almost look like they're floating or hydroplaning when they walk. And so these eyewitnesses point that out, that it's still like walker gait. And then just after seeing it, and this falls in line with other encounters, then the smell hit them. Kim, have you ever smelled them?
No, I haven't. Well, we've had some. I'm not sure it was them. I mean, bear smells bad too, but no, not that I know of. I smelled something one time, but we didn't have Bigfoot evidence at that time, so I don't know.
Okay. I have not, but my girlfriend and her son did. We're at the Black River Bigfoots, and this is when we went. We had the Jim Ingram, which was the first episode of season 1. And that's when we immediately found all these footprints. So we went back. We were out there late. It was dark. And then we got a little bit of distance between me. I had just gotten my new thermal device, so I'm going around, and I pass, and all of a sudden, they get hit by a huge skunk smell, and we believe the thing walked in between us. If you knew the location, I know a lot of people at home are like, what are you talking about? How do you know? And this and that. Look, when you dive deep into this subject, it is the reverse. The general public out there, Bigfoot is still the butt of the joke. But when you get into the Bigfoot world and you really start learning and listening to eyewitnesses, you realize that we all know what we're talking about because we've experienced it, and it blows our mind. And that's why we're talking about it so, I guess you say, so loudly.
Bryan, I think one other thing too to keep in mind, I feel like you have to be open to see them. For the most part, there has to be something about you that is, and I mean, there might be some incidents where it's not, like if they're on the road or whatever, but before I had that Bigfoot cross behind my car, I had said I was ready to see one again. But the interesting thing is that, and I said that to the woods as I was going back to this witness's cabin, and I was like, okay, I'm ready, but this is what I want. I want to be in my car going the opposite direction with my car running and ready to go. And that's almost exactly how it happened.
Wow.
And that was on the road going into this 2-track, basically, to the cabin. So, I would caution people. I think that it can be life-changing. It can literally cause PTSD to see these. And so be ready if it's something you want to do. Number one, I wouldn't go by myself. And secondly, just be aware that, they're going to take care of themselves and don't ever threaten them, because you're not going to win, so
Amen.
I think people have to be open. They have to be willing. And unless, it's a surprise encounter sometimes, but if you go out looking, they'll show up if they feel welcome to show up. Sherry, what do you think? Do you feel like that too?
Absolutely feel that exactly that way, because even in my encounter, I had no thought about it either way, whether they existed or not, and it didn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just out of the clear blue. Hello, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it was a
I think
PTSD incident. I mean, I was in PTSD for a while.
Yeah, I'm sold out, Sherry, that you had been watched before by Naboo. And
You
then
are
he decided when he was ready to show himself to you and when you could handle it.
absolutely totally agree with you on that. Yep.
All
Because
right.
I always sensed something, Brian, there before. And we had, when I was there before, even hearing things and just not knowing. I mean, I didn't know anything back then about Bigfoot or anything and what their characteristics were and their knocking. I just didn't know because I never recognized it as anything but just noise in the woods, right? So I was very naive about the whole thing
Yeah.
until it happened.
And
I
then
was
you talk about how, go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of things I haven't shared. One of them, I was talking with Sherry earlier today when we first got into this through the Ohio or through the excuse me, the Michigan magazine conference. I met this woman, and like when you're first getting into this, I was telling Sherry, it's like people don't start telling their stories. You're like, okay, they're cracked, whatever, because you just don't know, right? And this woman, I can't remember her name. She lived on the west coast area of Michigan, southern Michigan, and she was married and ended up divorced. She was in an abusive marriage, and the guy leaves, she's there with her kids, and these Bigfoots were like on her property. She had a family living there, and Igor Burtsov from Russia actually came to Michigan and did a lot of investigation on her property, got hair, got blood from, because they were just very friendly to her, and they would come in her house when she wasn't there, and they're dirty, and then they get in her car. But the husband came back one time and was threatening her, and he leaves or whatever. And this was when we were talking about migration. She believed that that family migrated south, like into Ohio or Illinois. I'm not sure where they went, but out of random blue, she gets this phone call from somebody that's in the other state, Ohio or whatever, somebody who doesn't know her. She gets this phone call that says, I just want you to know that I think they called them brothers of the woods, that they're watching you and they're going to protect you. How did she know to get a hold of that woman? I mean, there has to be an intelligence level that somehow they communicated who this woman was. And so the other woman from out of state calls and says, you're protected. Don't worry about your husband coming after you. And I'm like, okay, that was another one. I was like, okay, but then Igor spent quite a bit of time with her in doing research. So there had to be some legitimacy to it. But just really interesting when you think about their intelligence level. Like, I don't think they knew her phone number, but how did they know? How did they let this other woman know? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and they're so family orientated that I love that. I love that title, though, Brothers of the Woods. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so clan and family orientated that you might be seeing one, but they're more than likely are more around. You're just seeing one of them, and it could be the scout or the alpha kind of being a buffer zone or blocking you from the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. E Pluribusto from Kentucky says hello, greetings to everyone. Awesome.
No.
All right, so we're heading on to the fifth sighting in the Northeast Ohio area. This is just north of Donna Copus's plethora of sightings in southeastern Ohio, and that's what I just kept correlating this to is, boy, you could just, that whole eastern side of Ohio is when all the hills start, and you get away from the flat land, and that's where Sasquatch is. Sasquatch loves even the smallest of hills because if they're walking, they can duck behind, and they can make their getaway really quickly. But now we're moving on to the fifth Bigfoot sighting in 4 days. This happened on March 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody, this is just last week. This time it's in Windham Township, which is in still that same general Garrettsville, Ohio area. 8 minutes from Garrettsville, a woman saw out of her living room window about 100 feet away for about 6 seconds, a very tall figure on the edge of her backyard. Said It moved and then it ran at a very fast very fast pace. She says, I know what I saw, but I don't know what it was. And it was a tall brown Sasquatch. So edge of her backyard. So that is the fifth sighting, March 9th, 6 p.m. in 4 days. So now we move on to the very next day, 3:10, 4 a.m. So 6 sighting in 5 days. Newton Township Falls. This is all in the same area. So write these areas down, everybody. Newton Township Falls, 8 to 10 foot black shadow type figure. What had happened is this witness's dog started going ballistic in the house. Let the dog out, getting ready for work. The dog takes after this black shadow, and then this black shadow retreats, crashing through the woods. And then when the dog comes back, it was shaking violently, just scared so much to death. So that was the very next day, 3:10. That was number 6 sighting. Oh, okay, Valina. Sorry, checking in here real quick. Looking good.
That sighting
All right.
sounds interesting, Brian, because that could have been cloaking, being a shadowy figure like that, being translucent or, somewhat transparent.
Wait till you hear the honorable mention of today. I'm saving that for last because this is the one that reminds me of Kim's story, and it pertains to that as well, where you just go, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on with these things? All right, so 7th sighting in 4 days. 3:09 or 3:10. So it's happening at about the same time frame as all these other ones. Northeastern Ohio route. This is maybe my favorite next to the honorable mention. Check this out. Broad daylight, Route 303 between Streetsboro and Hudson, Ohio, in the Tinkers Creek area. Anonymous woman and her daughter, sighting of a 6-foot lean brown Bigfoot. So right there, it's telling me this is a young one. This is a teenager, in my opinion. Okay. Broad daylight. And where is it? It's walking against traffic, broad daylight, in their lane. So close to the car, the woman said her daughter could have reached out, I think, the passenger window and touched it. Okay, so they kind of had to move and get out of the way of this thing, walking down one of the lanes against traffic. And it's a lean brown Bigfoot. All right. Here we go. I get so excited, guys. I'm sorry. You'd think 3-4 years into this, I might get a little bit used to it. But here is another, what I call a clue. They were so close that the daughter could have touched it, yet when they looked at its face, it seemed to be blurred with no visible eyes. There is possibly your partial cloaking. Okay? I've heard before, man, and I can't remember that one eyewitness, and this is when I first got started, so all the details are sketchy, but the idea is a particular Sasquatch did not want to scare an eyewitness because it was so frightful looking that it kept itself, the hair over the face or blurred the face. So they don't like us looking some of them don't like us looking in their face or looking in their eyes. It's also, of course, you don't want to challenge them, if you're talking about an alpha male. So they're so close to this thing, the daughter could have reached out and touched it, yet its face was blurry with no visible eyes, but there was a lighter color hair around its facial area, but it was very lean, not bulky at all, with long arms. And this also, because it was walking on the road, you've got a flat surface. They could see how it walked and how it kind of glided, not up and down. They said the same thing, a very stilt-like walk, and it disappeared into the dark swamp area of Tinker's Creek. they had stopped the car by then. We're looking in the rearview mirror, and by then the mother and the daughter were too freaked out to go back or look anymore, and they took off. Is that not a great sighting or what? You're
Oh,
driving
wow.
down the road, and all of a sudden this thing's walking right at your car, broad daylight.
That, yes.
Well, that begs the question of why are they not hiding? Why are they
Angie,
allowing all these everybody to see them as they're moving or
Angie
migrating?
Elizabeth. I read Angie Elizabeth's comment. She is season 2. I can't remember. Wait. I've got it here somewhere. One of the episodes, Angie's had Sasquatch on her property. She made out a very good point with this one. That it could have been a scout looking for new area. It could have been a young one ostracized from the clan, or it could have been left behind by the clan. Now, if you couple that, okay, everybody at home, we're going to get very crazy and what we call woohoo here in the Bigfoot world. Matthew Sexton, and I've heard other accounts of this, but Matthew Sexton is my most prominent guy, and I always want to give my eyewitnesses credit. He believes that the alpha males are an alpha for a reason. They're the biggest, they're the baddest, but they're also able to summon up portals. Okay. So imagine, and I can totally get this. I got 2 boys, and when they get to their teenage years, they got a little lippy, and you want to fricking leave them at the mall and move on with your day. Well, I don't know if it was Angie or this popped into my mind. Hey, maybe this teenage Sasquatch got a little bit lippy and they left him behind, and he's humping it to catch up with the rest of the clan. I love that narrative. Who knows if it's the truth? We don't know. But, he got left behind and he's trying to catch up with the clan. He's been disciplined. And like Angie said, you just don't care anymore. I got to catch up to the clan, or I got to find a new area, or I'm going after fish. I don't care. I'm hungry now. And 2, if they hibernated all like we talked about, they're wanting food. That's like the Monroe Monster area sighting last year at the same time. That thing didn't care. It jumped out of the tree. It was there for the fish too. And the dad and the son were there boat fishing. And it almost challenged them like, hey, get out of my area. I'm trying to get some fish too. I've been waiting all winter because I'm sick of deer.
Yep.
Where was that at, Bryan?
In Monroe.
Last year, about this time, a new Monroe Monster area sighting. I went right to that location and saw the spot. It is down because it's also down the street from Laura's daughter's house. And there is a whole wetland area. If you go down I-75 and you get to, I forget the name of the road. It's some big Placensis, I don't know, some big French name of a road, but it's where I don't smoke pot, but there's a lot of distilleries there. And it's right on the coast of Lake Erie. And it's this big wetland along Plum Creek. And it's huge. A nature's preserve. Scott Brush and Jacob Fortner down there, Urban Bigfoot, they know more about the area than I do, but it's big and it's beautiful. But right there, a guy just went out with his son. The ice is melted. They're going to bow fish for some fish, and they're getting ready to bow fish, and they've got a dog with them. And all of a sudden, something jumps out of the tree about 10 foot up, and boom, right in the middle of them. And then the dog goes after it, runs up over the railroad tracks, and they said it moves so fast, its legs were blurry, and they described it as big, hairy, and having a huge butt, and it just moved so fast up over those railroad tracks that the dog couldn't even catch it. And that was 1 year ago today. That was on the BFRO, talked about it. And yeah, that's what we've learned about is they also bed down in all the cattails,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of cattails, I took kind of an interesting picture the other day. I was driving down the road and just south of the hayfield from me is the swampy area where some cattails grow. And I noticed that one big area of that swampy area where the cattails were, was like packed down. And then there was another area where they were standing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I there was no one behind me or anything. So I pulled over at the side of the road and took a couple pictures. I'm like, well, that's weird. Are they, why is this area more cleared and flattened and then this area is not?
Right.
Thought that was kind of interesting.
Yep. And I just
Yeah,
got more pictures. Yeah. I got more pictures this week from my what I would call my Saginaw Bay area eyewitness. He likes to stay anonymous. Last week I talked about a cinnamon colored Bigfoot. Was the same group. He just got out there and got some recent pictures of these huge matted down areas in the cattails. And yeah, they could be deer, but because of so many sightings and him just recently being surrounded by the whole clan, he knows where they are. And so I tend to believe it. But that's also in the Gauze Lefebvre area. That's where I found that most recent footprint in August, the best footprint I've ever found. All right, hey, jumping over to YouTube real quick. Johnny Half 6558 says Upper Peninsula. Hold on, let me read this. Is Squatch Country. Love that Hiawatha National Forest area in Delta County. Yeah, in actuality, Kim, I think we're coming up.
Are you?
Yeah. Real quick.
That's where I live, is Delta County.
All right. Well, we're going to visit you, and I'll let you know the dates because a week from tonight, we're going to release a recorded episode by author Kevin Lestarge. He's the author of a children's book called Billy Finds a Bigfoot. He lives right there on the Wisconsin border. We're going to meet him up there as well. He's had some Sasquatch sightings. And then we also know Cheryl Green in the Porcupine Mountain area. There's been Bigfoot sightings. And so we're going to kind of come up and do a tour of the Upper Peninsula. But I'll let you know the dates on that, okay? But we're going to meet with him. All right. Thank you, ladies. I know I jump around a lot, but you are fantastic. So we're going to get back to the Ohio Bigfoot sightings. It's the latest. Oh, and just hold on a minute. Let's jump to Dogman. The most recent Dogman sighting I know of anywhere happened, mid-January by somebody I know very well, right on the coast of Lake Michigan. It's one of my Dogman prophecies. If you haven't seen all those shorts, it's a series of shorts called Dogman Prophecies, like number 5 or whatever. And there's different accounts of eyewitness Dogman encounters. And this is the latest one, mid-January 2026. My friend comes out of their camper and witnesses a Dogman moving from right to left. And then here's the kicker. It goes behind a tree. And as my friend kind of feathers out to see where this thing's at, it's gone. So whether it got behind the tree and then used that as kind of a buffer and blocked it out and then ran that way, sure, that could have happened. They're so fast. But I've also had multiple reports of them disappearing into or behind trees, so it obscures the portal doorway. So that just happened mid-January of this year, west side of Michigan in Muskegon County. All right. Let's see. I've got one more encounter. Christopher Perry's in the back room, green room. We're going to bring him in a second. Let's go ahead. And I think he can hear us. So he can listen in. Hi, Chris. All right. So the 8th sighting in 5 days was 3:10. So we're talking the same. We've got from the 7th to the 10th last week. This one happened at 10:30 a.m. near Lake Milton, same area. Anonymous woman sighting. She says it wasn't a deer and it wasn't a bear. I know what a deer looks like. She says she was looking out her home window about 200 feet away for about 30 seconds. She saw something massive move towards her pond. She said 6 to 7 feet. Now, here's what's cool about this one is we distinguish from the other ones. And this one was a reddish or rust-colored Sasquatch with big, fat, round, muscular arms. So not lean or anything. We've got a different Sasquatch here. And then she watched it for a while, and then it began to run. Now, this is an eyewitness who doesn't believe in Bigfoot, has her first sightings, and she makes this observation, which is very important in the Bigfoot world. And when this thing began to run, it was leaning very forward. The Native American Indians have a name for Sasquatch, and the interpretation of it is those who lean when they walk. So this thing was leaning forward. Yes, and I got to track that name down. But so this thing was leaning when it took off running, leaning forward at an incredible speed and ducked under heavy brush and disappeared into the woods. Fantastic. I love that sighting as well. Chris, we're almost to you. I'm going to read one more, and this is the honorable mention, which happened around, okay, so this is 3/7. So this is almost like kicks off all of this. Listen, ladies, here we go. 7 foot tall on 3/7. Bigfoot seen in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Resident hears something out at the garbage cans. Okay? It's in the morning. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I got a time here. I do not have a time, but a resident hears something in his garbage cans. He goes out thinking it's a hog or raccoons, so he's already grabbed his .22 and a flashlight. Okay? He goes out, and what he thought was a hog or raccoon ends up being bigger than he expected and rises up on its hind legs. He puts the flashlight on it. It looks into the flashlight, and he says it has a primitive human face with primitive nose or human-like nose, lips, and eyes. It like ours. He said specifically human-like and like our nose, lips, and eyes. And its hair, though, was very dread-like and full of muddy clumps. And it looked straight into the flashlight, okay? So this guy's got a great view of this thing. He says, get this, ladies, it takes 3 smooth steps backwards and melts away into the woods, almost like it vaporized back into the woods.
Wow.
Get a cloak? Yeah, he said, scared to death. Somerset County. Oh, I got the rest. There it is. Somerset County. Oh, there's another one. Somerset County. Sorry about that. But is that crazy or what? So right there, you've got your human-looking Bigfoot. And then that gate, 3 smooth steps, so it's almost like floating back and then disappears into the woods, maybe cloaking into that. So, oh, that's good stuff, ladies.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
All right, let me get a drink. We're going to bring Christopher Perry in. I'm glad he got in. We've had so many tech issues tonight. Let's go ahead and bring Chris in. Let me get a drink. All right, everybody at home, thanks for tuning in. Mr. Wildlife, let's see. Oh, very good. Maybe it was an outcast Bigfoot. Good stuff. Bev Straba, good evening, everyone. Bev Strada's in Gladwin here. Oh, real quick before I forget, and then we'll bring Chris in. Another fairy sighting. Everybody knows I've had my point blank fairy sighting right in front of my face. I never believed fairies existed, and boom, there it was, and it changes my whole perspective on life. Nora Scott, one of our Bigfoot eyewitnesses coming up in season 3, just had a recent fairy sighting. We're going to get her on an episode. Yeah, oh yeah, coming up. We'll get her on an episode coming up, and we'll talk about that fairy. But let's go ahead, bring in Christopher Perry right now.
How's it going?
There?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Right on. I was having mic issues, man. I was, I guess it was turned off in my browser, and I couldn't figure it out. I kept anyway. So I got a couple crazy stories actually. They both happened. Shit, I think the first one's gonna be like in 2008, like early 2008, right? So I used to have property in Trinity County in Northern California. Like, I don't know, are you familiar with California at all?
I am not. We're from Michigan, but no, we want to hear some out west. We're usually saturated with Michigan and Ohio. Go ahead.
Right on. Have you seen the old Bigfoot video from back in the 60s, the one by the river?
Oh yeah,
That was in
Patterson
Trinity
Gimlin.
County. That was
Okay.
that was in Trinity County, about maybe 40 miles north of where I was at. So the first one, I didn't see anything, but I was in an RV, right? We were staying out in the middle of the woods, and I could hear something creeping outside the RV, like something breathing heavy, right? And something smacks the side of the RV, like wham, shook the fucking. Sorry, can I swear? I mean,
Yeah, hey, we're not ready to go for it.
all right, cool. So something smacked, like I said, smacked the side of the RV, man. I went outside, didn't see anything, man, but that one was pretty crazy. The one I told you, I believe I commented on one of your videos the other night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I lived at the end of a dirt cul-de-sac, and it was like, now I'm trying to remember, this is like at least 12 years ago. So I was standing in the middle, I was standing at the edge of the road with my ex-girlfriend, and we were like having a conversation. She was sitting on the trunk of her car, and she was facing whatever this was, and she like gasps and was like, holy shit, there's a dog or something. And I turned around, and I saw maybe like a shadow like move past the tree line, and I had a headlamp on. So I clicked the headlamp to turn it on, right? And right at the edge of the road, it like dropped down maybe like 10 or 12 feet, like a slope. And there was like pine trees. So it was like super thick trees right at the edge of the road where it dropped off. And whatever it was stood up and was like eye to eye with me. And it was standing on down that hill. So, I mean, I don't know, it had to be 7 or 8 feet tall, maybe.
Oh yeah. Hey,
And-
going back to the I got to go back to the camper thing. Is there a reason do you think it slapped your camper? So I always have my generic questions. Were you near water? Were you in its territory? Why did it come up and intimidate you, do you think?
Good question. Honestly, it was probably because we just got there. Like when we first moved up there, it was like, I don't know, 2008. There was nobody there. But then everybody and their mom started moving to Northern California to start growing herb around that time.
Okay.
And it got pretty populated like later years. But like when I first got there, it was desolate. And maybe he was just checking us out,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. It was.
Yeah, more than likely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, more than likely. I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, man. Just showing up in their territory. The alpha males come out and they're coming out to check you out and maybe intimidate you a little bit.
Probably, man. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I feel like there might have been a couple other weird incidents, maybe not as dramatic as that one, but like when we first got up there, man, it was like, I don't know, there are mountain lions, there's all kinds of wildlife. There isn't really any water nearby.
Okay.
I'm trying to think where like the closest water was, like probably within a mile, maybe.
No, that's good enough because I found, and then I want to go back to the other one when you're sitting on the trunk, your girlfriend. What I found here in Michigan is they might not bed down on a river, but they will bed down close to a tributary of the main river. It's really weird. It's like they got to be in a hidden place, and then when they wake up, they'll follow that tributary to the main river and then go fishing. And I have, at least in my area here in the thumb of Michigan. But let's get back and hit a few more details of that second encounter you're talking about with your girlfriend. Can you say that again?
Okay, so where was I at? So we were having a conversation, right? She was sitting on the trunk of her car, and she had saw something, and she like was like, "Oh shit!" Like there's a dog or something. Like she looked like she saw a ghost, like genuinely, like shocked. And when I turned around, I don't think I saw it at first because like I like it was dark. It was probably like midnight, maybe 1 a.m. or so, and maybe there was a moon. I don't know, but I went to turn my headlamp on, and it's like I heard something move from like maybe 30 feet to my right, and then move pretty quick, maybe 40 or 50 feet in what seemed like a split second. Does that kind of make sense? And then when I turn the light on, or when I shine the light at it, like I said, there was like a drop off, like at the edge of the road. It dropped off, and there was a bunch of pine trees. So it had to be at least 2 or 3 feet down, like from where I was standing at, up on the road. So when it stood up, I mean, we were eye to eye, maybe about 50 or 60 feet apart, maybe, give or take. And it scared the shit out of me. I had a pistol on me, and I pulled my pistol out and popped a couple rounds, and it was gone. I think I looked down like this when I drew my gun, and by the time I got back, it was like nothing was there.
Did you get an eye color off of it?
Yellow maybe.
Oh man, I got it, Chris. Man, that sounds like a dog man to me. Ladies, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what?
Yellow goes with dogman. The yellow eyes prominently goes with dogman. We've got some blue colored eyes with some dogman, but mainly yellow.
Man, that's exactly what I thought, but I didn't want to sound like a crazy person. Like every time I tell people this story, they're like, "Yeah, right." Like I swear to God, man, if I could get my ex on the phone right now, I know she remembers it. Because I've called her a couple times, like, "Hey, remember that night?" And she's like, "Yeah, the fucking dog monster." So, pardon my French.
Well, Chris, because she's saying it's a dog. That's another.
Yeah, she saw it better than I did, for sure.
Right. And that sure matches up to our, dog man sighting.
Yeah, it's by far, that was the most terrifying encounter. Like, and I mean, I've seen some crazy shit when I was up there in the woods. Like weird shit happened all the time. Like I woke up one time to a mountain lion drinking out of I had a Doughboy swimming pool that I held water in. And I woke up one morning and I was in like a mosquito net kind of tent, like a gazebo tent thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I woke up, I looked to my right, maybe 15 feet away from me. There's a mountain lion drinking out of the pool. Like that was pretty scary, but
yeah,
it was obviously like a mountain lion, like it was
They're
early
big.
in the morning.
They're big.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Probably way close to 200 pounds. Yeah, it was a big one.
It's interesting. I wonder if your girlfriend, going back to the sighting with your ex-girlfriend, she saw that thing cross the road, and it might have been on all fours at the time.
Yeah.
But by the time you saw it and you were eye level, it might have been standing up on its hind legs. Because we got a lot of encounters like that.
That's exactly what happened, man. Like I said, it was probably close to 15 years ago, longer. It was like maybe 2008 or 2009, something like that. How long ago was that? That was over 15 years ago, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I suck at math.
At the time, did you believe in cryptids or anything like that? And then did that kind of catapult you? Like me, my fairy sighting, and then we had a sighting down the street of a Bigfoot, and I'm like, what's going on in this area? And that catapulted me down this road. Is that what kind of happened with you?
Pretty much. Like I've always been into conspiracy theories. Like my dad always used to tell random stories about UFOs and Bigfoots and shit, but I was skeptical at that point, But after that night, man, I started going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure it out, man. Because you see something like that, it's like your whole like perception of reality is just shattered. You know what I mean? Like
we do.
Awesome.
We do.
Brian, can I just say something quick?
Oh, please do. No, chime in anytime. Go for it.
One of the things I'm trying to remember who was, I'm feeling like this was from the Michigan conference, but there were a couple of people that were regular. I mean, they kind of encountered several of the different cryptids, but somebody told us that the Sasquatch can have different colored eyes, and we've seen red and white. The white one that we saw, or I saw, was actually up a hill again, and it was a Bigfoot because somebody saw it on thermal. But when that Bigfoot turned sideways, like turned its head, because it will go behind a tree or whatever, when it turned its head, it was like a flashlight coming out of his eyes, which is crazy, but it was yellow. And so I think there are different colors. And what I have heard from other Bigfoot people is that the red eyes, a lot of times they'll be the angry ones. It's like they're showing anger through their eyes. Probably not always, but it's not. That's just what I've heard. I don't know from personal experience because all of mine, they were a moment in time sighting. But the yellow one, stayed up on that hill and then turned its head sideways, and it just was like a flashlight. It was the craziest thing. So yeah, I don't know, but boy, I don't ever want to see a dog man. That's for sure. They're not. I've never heard of good things with a dog man encounter.
I'm with you on that, Kim.
Yeah. Oh, like
yeah.
Not
I'm
opening
getting
that
chills.
door.
Like it's like flashbacks and shit. I'm like, it was a crazy experience for sure. I mean, it was maybe 50 feet away from me, give or take.
Gotcha. You know what? We're gonna talk after this, Chris, because I want to write that. If you can write it out, because I do a Dog Man Prophecy series where I read eyewitness encounters. So if you could write that out and I can make that one of my Dog Man Prophecy releases, man, I appreciate that. But Kim, going back to the eye, Kim, going back to the eyes, no, you hit the nail on the head. I had an eyewitness who said he witnessed 3 different eye colors. Like at first, the Sasquatch's eyes were yellow, where it was kind of complacent. But then when it got inquisitive, they turned orange. And I've even got that on camera with my Aaron Spencer episode, orange eyes. And then when it got angry, they even turned red.
What? And you got that on camera? I'm going to check that out. It's on your channel?
I've got orange eyes on camera, but I don't have the all 3 stages. One of the eyewitnesses had stated that the Sasquatch's eyes went from yellow to orange to red. So as it was inquisitive at first, it was kind of docile, and then it got inquisitive, and then it got enraged. And it had the 3 separate level of eye colors. That's to me, crazy. See, you want to say, Kim, interdimensional, and Brenda as well, with the dog man sightings that your mother saw. You want to say interdimensional when you see these things, but yet we've got to dig into this deeper because of the biological aspects of like deep sea fish, or even that dragons were real at one time and they were able to breathe fire. There's just a lot of information we either don't know or we've lost that ancient times knew, but we're kind of relearning now. What are your thoughts on that?
I think a lot of that truth's hidden, man. I mean, I don't want to sound like an even crazier conspiracy theorist, but I think they're keeping that shit quiet on purpose, man. I mean, they don't want.
Could be. No, it could be. And don't be afraid to be like a conspiracy theorist, because we're crazy here on this channel, my brother.
All right, right on, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think they're definitely suppressing it, man.
I do. I think the government knows. Go ahead.
Anything that contradicts religion or would make people start questioning religion, they keep it quiet. Is anything archaeological that could potentially prove that the narrative of Christianity or whatever that we've been following is a lie? It would cause mass hysteria,
All right, hold on, Chris. I got to throw you a curveball now. I'm a Christian, and
I am too.
At first, this threw a curveball, but when you dig into the possible Nephilim connections, then we can kind of make sense of all of this. Man, definitely. I know so much. I'm looking for David Walker's book. One of my right here. He has a great breakdown. Now I can go I can go on a whole tangent, but his book, Supernatural Cryptids and the Return of the Nephilim, he does a great job of breaking the Nephilim connection down, that they could be a connection to Sasquatch, where Dogman could be
Really?
a government experiment as well. So just keep that
Yes.
in mind. I'm not here to preach. And then in Luke 21:11, it talks about in the last days, you will basically see fearful sights, which in the original Greek is phobotron, which means monsters, and then also possible things coming out of the heavens, which could be UFOs. So there is some
Definitely.
biblical verses that support that, but that's all I'm going
Definitely.
to say for now. Hey, did we
Dragons
lose
too.
Sherry? Yes. Did we lose Sherry and Kim? Did their power go out? Let me check something. Hold on, everybody. We're going long today. I know that, but
My power
okay.
came back on shortly after
Kim
I
said
came
she
in.
couldn't hear anymore. Okay, so we lost her a little bit. Kim Fleming says, thanks, Bryan. To everyone, Kim, thank you for being on the show. I hope we didn't scare you off too much. But yeah, this StreamYard platform is kind of crazy at times. I don't know what happened to Sherry, but man, what a great show. Hold on. Val is in Kentucky. They've heard a bunch about exciting in Corbin, Kentucky area. Oh, she's down there now. Oh, I got to talk to you, Val. 70 miles an hour winds. All
No
right.
shit.
Yep. I think we're caught up. And then Scott, this is something that Scott Brush brought up, and also Frank Middleton as well. He's saying on YouTube, who's to say that demons couldn't possess one of these Bigfoots? Now, that's interesting. I think those two are separate, but Scott Brush, I think, was the original one who came up with this, is in everything there's good. Well, we've all brought this up. In everything there's good ones and bad ones, just like people. But I don't put it past maybe some demonic encounters that they could be posing as Bigfoot, or you think maybe it's a Bigfoot when it's actually not. So that's when the
Yeah,
lines get
definitely.
blurred, and and we just don't know,
Yeah, we
where I
describe them the
think
best we can. Sorry.
exactly. No, you're right. I got to catch up on some of this. Brenda Goodwin, thanks for hanging in there. So that was Bev Strada. Southern Ohio Bigfoot says they are very active here in southeastern Ohio right now as well. Great show. Yeah, hey, Southern Ohio Bigfoot, we just read those 8 encounters, basically 9 encounters with the honorable mention. Yeah, that's what's going on. It's nice to have I guess you could say current information, because the Patterson Gimlin encounter is great, but yet we don't want to rely on that nowadays. And now with all these
Yeah.
recent slew of sightings, and then the Dogman sighting here in Michigan, it really helps the cause, so to speak. So,
Yeah, definitely.
all right, guys. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up this wonderful show?
You talking to me?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Here comes Sherry. We're going to bring Sherry back in. Thought we might have been wrapping it up, but let's bring her back in, see what's going on. Hey, Sherry.
Hi. Sorry about that. My
We
battery
lost
died.
you there. See, I can't hear her now. So this might be a good point to wrap up the show. As the tech issues start coming back in, right, that we started late. We were 20, 25 minutes late today because of tech issues. So I see Sherry nodding her head. Hey, Brenda, anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Brenda
I'm
is
good.
frozen. So, okay, Chris, can you? All right,
Are you
Brenda's
talking to me?
moving now. Yeah. So I can't hear Sherry and Brenda anymore. Kim, we lost
Can't
Kim.
hear
The
me?
tech issues are going wild. Chris, you're the only one I can hear. Hey, Chris, where can people follow you on Facebook or anything like that?
Yeah. You can follow me on TikTok or YouTube, Detox Media on YouTube.
Fantastic.
And
Hey, Chris, can we? Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was going to say Chris P 1987 on TikTok.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. We're going to wrap it up. Let's stay in contact, Chris. Let's talk more. I appreciate you being on the show. Dude, man, that Dogman encounter is crazy. So stay right there. We're going to go into the green room now. Everybody at home, thanks for watching. It's been a crazy show with tech issues, but we got it done, and there's so much good information. So share and like. It's free. Spread the word about the Bigfoots of America podcast show. And we're going to see you in 2 weeks because I'll be down at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference speaking with the North Carolina investigators at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference on Saturday, March 21st in Clayton, Georgia. So if you want to come down and see us, you can do that. But hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. See ya.
Have a good night.